All right, folks. Thank you. Is that secondary reinforcement or an attention getter? Have you noticed how many people use clickers as lures? Really amazing. Very funny. Anyway, a couple of demographic questions as we get a feel for the audience. Who brought some family with them when they came here? That's cool. And what are they doing? For those of you whose family is not with you, they're sleeping? In school? Yeah? Yeah. Because I was just outside watching, I guess, my family head off in the rental car. And as the parking guy pops the trunk, I notice it is loaded up with shopping bags. So I guess yesterday she was shopping. So anyway, I've forgotten my glasses this morning, so we're doing this blind. And it's really important, if you ever read this. One of the things I like to do each day is to read through carefully what it says I was going to say and to make sure, because I do have to cover a bit of testosterone from yesterday, but that fits in nicely to today and the fighting. But because I can't read a thing, so we'll have to wait for the break when I run up to my room. But we're going to zap along with slides. Remember, tonight is Friday, so 5 o'clock in the bar is men's night. We each have a beer, and women are not excluded. It's just you won't be welcome. For the first, 45 minutes. Then you can mill in, okay? If you have a beer in your hand, you can join us. Oh, that's really nice of you. Let me check them and see what they're like. God, there's always people. Wow! And then there was light. Thank you very much. That is really cool. Yes. These are actually better than mine. Are these like prescription or are they the Dina Dell specials? Yeah, aren't they cool? You just go and buy 6 at a time and tread on them, lose them, drop them. Right, off we go. This is a very, very busy day. I totally apologize. The good news is if I can actually keep it on the ball, you're going to get a wonderful overview today and so much information you just don't know what. Tomorrow will be much easier. We will take a lot of time to reflect tomorrow and we'll have more time for questions. Today we don't have many, so slides please. That's me. And well, we started our research in Australia and then because the joke is whether all of these are upside down. No, that's good. What you have here is 2 dogs. One of the things I really like about slides is it gets you to really learn to watch behavior because it takes away the sound. And you know what sound is coming from here. Which dog is making noise in this picture? One on the right. And what noise is he saying? Would you like my bone? No, he's going, and a very good learning exercise I do with students is I have them watch videos with no sound. If you listen to a video with sound, your eyes will be closed. If you hear one growl, that's it. The best example of this is in the Every Picture Tells a Story video. I think it's the first episode of the Training the Companion Dog, you know, the set of 4, where you have that shepherd with the, what is it, a Shih Tzu or something? I don't know. Some little moppy dog, hairy dog. It's a what?
No, I said easy.
Oh. Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah. Anyway, when you watch it, you just think that shepherd is going to eat the Shih Tzu. I mean, it is really scary if you watch it and listen to it. If you turn the sound down and watch it again, and I say, right, I want you to count two things, elbow bends and tongues. And these are how you count good behavior. That so many people, when they look at behavior, one example of bad behavior in the dog is damned. You'll be doing a temperament test and the dog goes, failed, kill him. Or the dog snaps at you, failed, kill him. No, I always develop a friendly quotient. And after going through a dog, they'll say, well, you know, he snapped at you twice. I say, yeah, but he's hitting me with a friendly quotient of about 32. That means 32 friendly signs a minute. Each one recorded on my little clicker here. Click, 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 click. So when you watch this shepherd now play with the little moppy dog, and you'll see him go, play bow, paw raise, play bow, lick, 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 play bow, paw raise, that quickly. It just so happens at the same time he's going, you listen to the noise, it closes your eyes. You must be representative when analyzing behavior, okay? So again, good things about good old-fashioned slides. We know what's happening here. And of course the story, I like people to tell me stories from pictures because they always get it wrong. On the left we have a lower to middle ranking female. And on the right, you can see a little scrotum there, we have another female, a pseudo-hermaphroditic female, who is acting very butch because of the testosterone that hit her brain between 28 and 33 days of fetal life old. It's totally masculinized her brain, and she's become a jerk. And the masculinized females were actually, they weren't just turned into males, they became very confused, they became worse than males. That it was, and that could have been the dose rate. I mean, to guess what dose rate you would need to masculinize the brain is totally guesswork. So let's just say they had a lot of testosterone in their body. And they are just really sparky, nasty animals. Snippy, snappy, growly, belligerent, getting into fights and what have you. So, we have another one. This is Athena again. And you see a penis there. Okay, now she has ovaries inside. So if you go through the, God, what is it? I don't know, 5 categories of sex. I'm going to forget them as I go through them. You will have chromosomal sex. She's XX. She's female. Gonadal sex. She's got ovaries. She's a female. Anatomical sex. She's got a scrotum and a penis. Well, that's kind of male. Brain sex. Oh, she's been masculinized. Male. Then you would get secondary sexual characteristics, kind of the human equivalent of gender identity. Well, she's got a lot of male secondary sexual characteristics. She lifts her leg. She mounts females. She loves estrus urine. Gender identity, you can't really apply it to dogs. We don't know whether they have self-awareness of themselves, but she is pretty screwed up in terms of the gender identity. And because one day we'll inject her with estrogen, then 2 months later we'll inject her with testosterone. So we want to test how female is she and how male is she, and she's always relating to other females and males, and she must be so screwed up if she has some kind of gender identity. Which, when we were watching them in interactions, these are not cool dogs. They're not calm. Nothing like a high-ranking dog. They do well in competition because they're feisty and belligerent. But no, they're kind of like middle to high-ranking male dogs. You know, always growling, always in an argument, always a pain in the butt. Not a top dog, not an alpha dog, not a dominant dog. All these terms, that character is Ken. I'm cool. I'm in control. You don't hear me growl. You know. And this was one of the bits of advice we gave to the Stanford Center, that you must make a decision about sex. You cannot go back and forth. You can't dress this baby in pink and then change it to blue a week later. You cannot dress it in yellow. and not disclose its sex for a month. You've got to make a decision the very first day, because that will totally change the way that every single person, with the exception of a couple in the world, relate to it. People relate to babies in, I think, the most ridiculous way. And they relate to girl babies very differently from boy babies. I like people who relate to babies just like it's a human being. And they just say, hey, baby, how are you? Yeah, not talking too much today? Oh, only 2 weeks old. Ah, well. And they just start chatting away. And before you know it, you've got a really intelligent kid there responding like a normal human being, instead of getting into these silly, attention-getting, tantrum-y, cry-y games, you know. But it's adults that are to blame. So gender identity, really important, must be clear. Must be clear. So Athena has the bone, things that are really important for you. This is what we call 3PC, three-paw contact, three-point contact, by two paws and the muzzle. That's really important. You'll see some pictures where the dog is maybe staring at a dog like this, but he's left his foot on the bone. That is really important, and it signals the bone is mine. And the difference is, if the dog's not touching the bone, you can reach for it. When his foot's on it, you're often going to get a shock. Okay? Not these dogs, of course. You just take the bone away from them. These are beautifully socialized, these dogs. I mean, they are experimental animals, but they're totally friendly, zero aggression, don't hurt other dogs. I mean, they were a good crew. This is Ishtar, another masculinized female. And that expression really sums up her personality. You know, a confused masculinized female. Now, I said that one part of the confusion was, in adulthood, we wanted to test out how they responded to adult hormone levels in their blood of testosterone and of estrogen. God, I forgot what I was going to say then. It sounded so interesting too, didn't it? I want to know myself. The hell was I going to say? Let me just pause calmly a moment and think.
Two-paw contact there.
That's good. Two-paw contact. We're staring.
Tongue out.
The bone, the testosterone. Whatever. It's gone. Here comes Joe. And again, this is Joe's tail's up, but he's just moving in there. I mean, Joe was a really cool middle-ranking dog. He was the sort of dog that was actually destined to be a top dog eventually. He didn't give a damn. And he just slowly walks up to Ishtar, who is growling her face off. And he just, oh, you got my bone, thanks. And, you know, dogs would attack him, and he would just carry on eating. It's a very useful tactic. So now Joe has the bone, and this is Athena back again, wandering around, looking uptight. So there should probably be a hierarchy, you know, of uptightness, because that's what a lot of people think are top dogs. They say, oh, he's dominant. No, he's not. He's confused and uptight. He's your typical middle-ranking male. And same is true in humans too. That if someone is really a top dog, you don't see them acting like a jerk and getting in bar fights. They're very quiet. You know, they don't boast. They don't need to. It's kind of like if you go to a restaurant and there's a really famous person there, everyone's looking at him like you don't see him looking at anyone. You're trying to eat. And it's the same with dogs. In a hierarchy, you stare down, but you look up. So higher dogs in the hierarchy may stare at another dog like, excuse me, but lower-ranking dogs will go, they'll keep looking and glancing to see where the power is. They'll keep checking to the power, as we call it. So Joe here, he's really relaxed. He's California Joe. He was so cool. And Athena is uptight. Here's Eddie. This is great. Eddie and Athena. You see Athena there. She's got tail is 1 plus, we call that when the tip vibrates. Her hackles are up. She's growling away. She's starting to do a shoulder press into his butt. Eddie is, at this moment, the top dog in the litter. He's a runt. He's the smallest dog. He's got a broken tail. He's about 12 years old here. Notice that lovely bone position. This is true Eddie. Take the bone to a corner, lie it under your body. Now, if any dog needs to touch it, they have to touch you. He generally doesn't respond to this. He just starts eating. And it's the best way to deal with bullshit. You know, Athena will be like, I'm going to take your bone away. I'm going to beat the crap out of you, Eddie. I'm really going to, and he's going, and then eventually you'll see the dog get really uptight and you'll see all these displacement behaviors. Because then the dog that's lost thinks, oh God, I'm actually a little too close here. And they'll go, ugh, 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 and then they'll pee. And so then they carry it and get loose again. But they'll be very stiff moving away from an encounter like this. Stiffness is another wonderful indication of friendliness. The stiffer they are, the worse off you are. You're looking for a loose dog. Think going along cages in a humane society. And I'll give you 2 dogs. One dog we call Zero Dog. He could be sitting, lying down, or standing. Let's say he's standing. You look at him and you say, hey, puppy, and he does this. This is not good. There's nothing you can feel off here. Here's your typical pit bull. Now, you're watching the front feet. We call this weight shifting. And the pit bull will almost be dancing like the ground is hot. Boop, 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 boop. The head will be doing, it's almost like Stevie Wonder. I don't mean to be rude, but it's exactly like the mouth is a little open and it's doing this move to sight. That is good news. The more you see the dog's body moving with a rhythm like this, the greater the likelihood it is to be friendly. All right? Oh, this is great. This is Athena attacking Cassius. So Athena's on top. She has a nice snarl. She's growling. Is she going to win that encounter? No, Cassius is just blowing her off. He's just standing there. He's not even responding. So this is where now Cassius, who again is a high middle-ranking male dog, he's uptight, but he's starting to get cool. In competitions where he knows it's no competition. So he's developing greatness. He's still not a top dog because of all this macho crap that he keeps throwing out, okay? But here's an example where he's really starting to get it. He is actually vocalizing. He's going, ugh. He shouldn't, top dogs don't do that. A top dog, if you hear it vocalize, it's like, ugh. Or it's like, they just give you a flicker of a look like that, and if you haven't responded by getting down on your knees and apologizing 50 times over, it's so fast, and then it's over. And that dog is usually left paralyzed on the ground, usually on its back with a leg up like this, sort of going, oh, okay. And then they look around and move very slowly and skunk off, okay? So this is good. This is a good sign that Cassius is starting to learn what it takes to be a top dog, because he's a little way away from being top dog of this kind. It didn't actually happen, but Eddie is getting very old now. And when Eddie goes, he's the next one in line. Okay, this is Whip. This is Whippersnapper Wunderhund, or my researchers, my colleagues used to call him Dunbar's Folly. We're doing a study on, starting off on sexual differentiation. How males and females are different. So we first test, we have 5 males, 5 females, we test them against each other. Obviously, males were more successful than females in this bone competition test, which, by the way, is a good indicator of hierarchy. It correlates well with other things that we saw in play, access to commodities like food, other food, water, resting places, what have you. So that the hierarchy was a pretty good indicator as discovered by our bone tests. The bone tests, basically, we had two phases, equal opportunity and affirmative action. And the equal opportunity test, we let two dogs in an enclosure for a minute. We watch them, what they do, sniffing each other, peeing, getting used to the area. Then we throw a bone, which is an oxtail, equidistant between the two. And we record all the interactions in a shorthand. Okay, and developing the shorthand is good because now you can watch behavior interactions very, very quickly. Okay? Once a dog, and what we're looking for, established possession is, oh God, that's what incredible delivery. Thank you. Starbucks, Starbucks. Pardon? Starbucks, Starbucks. So, the test runs for 90 seconds. If one dog gets the bone and keeps it undisputed for 30 seconds, we say that he won the encounter. He is the possessor. And in most situations between male dogs, you toss out a bone between two of them, there's no competition. It's all pre-decided. One dog just saunters up and gets the bone, and that's it, and keeps it for 90 seconds. Add a female into it, it's a little different. Females see life differently. And in fact, they have all these amendments for male hierarchical law, with the first pitch amendment to male hierarchical law being, I have it and you don't. And then the second amendment being, you have it, but I want it. And I'm probably going to get it. And they have totally different strategies towards possessions. For males, it is so clear-cut, it is pre-decided. For females, it's all golden opportunity. And they will wear down males. I've got some great photographs of that. A lower-ranking female can easily work on a pretty high-ranking male and wear him down until he cracks. And male dogs, they are brittle. They're a lot of bluff, and you see it straight away. And basically, it's like when the thing applies to when you're working with dogs. You're working with a dog, and he's going, "Brr, brr." I just think, oh, God, pathetic thing. He's totally bluffing. You know, it's going to be fine. If it weren't, you would have known it by now. When you get bitten, it happens so fast, and all you did was be there. So the more they growl, the happier I get. I've said many times, I'm not a particularly great dog trainer, but one thing I'm really good about is being around growly dogs, because it just doesn't bother me. And whether they're growling at each other, so I'm good at introducing dogs that fight, or dogs that are growling at me, I just ignore it and talk back. Occasionally, if that's really going on, I'll recite nonsense poetry. And that's so that I show no signs at all that I'm scared. And if you concentrate on singing, whistling, or reciting something, you can keep really calm. So I always go, dogs growling, Owl and the Pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some money and plenty of honey wrapped up in an oxtail. Ah, gotcha. And I go on and on like this, and it keeps me moving, and my voice is going up and down. It's a great way to protect yourself from being bitten. Of course, a better way is to be behind a door, but there you go. Anyway, we then take the bone away from the possessor, and we put him in a little chute that has a sliding, like guillotine door. We then throw the bone out to the guy that lost. And once he has it for 30 seconds, we pull the chute, and out comes the previous possessor. If the interaction is male-male, it'll be boom, turned over that quickly. Okay? Oh, my phone went off the other day, and number one, it was someone speaking in Spanish, and then we agreed it was a wrong number, but it had a different ring. It was so obnoxious. I have it so it goes beep, beep. That's the ring. And it sort of started playing like that. So someone has been inside my phone and changed the ring. If that went off in public, it would be so embarrassing. So I've left it in the room because I don't know how to change it back, but I'm not having the phone ring like that. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like you look like a total jerk, you know, especially in the middle of a seminar. So, sorry, I'm just joking. It's all right. All right. And then we look at the interactions again. We are comparing male dogs versus female dogs, and we compare them in two ways. One is males versus females, and the other is looking at the differences between how males interact with males and females interact with females. Absolutely different. Okay? For males, you have such a clear-cut hierarchy. It's all pre-decided. You toss the bone out, the two males, you know which one's going to take it, and the underdog doesn't say, oh, not my bone. And sometimes I used to be a jerk and throw it to the underdog. And he'd say, not mine, didn't touch it, did not look at it, and the other dog walks by and takes it. Females, they'll both go for it. Food is food. It's just, they look at food totally differently. And if it's there, I want it, and I'm going to get it. And then they won't give up. They will wear down. They will do this proximity thing. And that they're really subtle with this. They will, like, if you've got the bone, they will be sort of, like this. And they keep doing this stuff, walking around, and you know they're just targeting this other dog and the bone. Okay? And it doesn't stop. It goes on for a long time. You put the two together, males versus females, and you actually have a lot of comedy. And, you know, you've got these males who, they're such simple souls. They just see life, but I'm the top dog, it's my bone. Not now, it isn't, buddy. And so the question is, can you now get it away from that female? And middle-ranking males, no, a lot of them can't. Once the female's got it, she has got it. She has really got it. And so possession in females means something completely different. Remember that when you do your object removal. Male dogs, it's usually a piece of cake. You say, thank you, and you go, oh, sorry, I was just chewing the bone. With bitches, you say, thank you, and they don't make a noise. You see the lip go like this, and you think, oh, okay, interesting. So lots more puppy object removals with little bitches. They will change from puppy girl dogs to bitches overnight. And I'm being serious, you know, at 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, you got this cute little dog, you take anything away from it, and then all of a sudden, bump. Just something simple like her toy, or getting her off the bed, you know, and it changes very abruptly. Male dogs, you just don't get the problems. You've just got to explain it to a male dog. Oh, the bed's our bed. You can come up when we say, as long as you get off when we say, and the bones are all my bones, the Kongs are all my Kongs, all the toys are mine, but you can have them when you want, as long as I can take them back. And it's very clear, very easy, they understand it. We were then going to throw in these hermaphroditic females in this, and basically, to conclude, males are more successful than females. In males, you get an absolute rank, and it just doesn't change. It would, let's say, well, I'll tell you, in 10 years, we only had 2 days where there were changes. And that was on 2 occasions where Joe said to Cassius, Cassius, just quit it. To the point that I was actually, and some other people were convinced, Joe was actually the higher-ranking dog, but he just didn't care. And the rank meant so much to Cassius that he would just let him have it. And he would just say, oh, Cassius, take the damn bone, now shut up. But there were twice when Joe, he had just had enough, and he just looked at Cassius and just said, yeah. And Cassius was like, and stopped like that and stiffly walked off. Okay, I'll be back to you in a second. Well, okay, question? Well, in teaching them, the question is how do you do object removals? You start off always by having a trade. It's nice, saying, oh, you've got the, well, first don't let go. So you practice, can you do object removals before you let go? When you let go, you're sunk. With a puppy, you do it anyway because it's so easy. With an adult dog that's, say, got a problem, I usually work with objects on a string with an assistant. And if there's any problem, like if the bitch looks at me weirdly, your assistant pulls that string and that bone or Kong or what have you flies across the room. You put a plastic garbage can on it and sit on it. And the dog who's looking at me, like is just about to go, suddenly goes, whoa, Jesus, that's impressive. And so I'm here, and it really makes you much safer because the muzzle does that. The dog's muzzle will go for the moving thing, so you don't want it to be your hand. Okay? With little dogs, you can put the bucket on the little dog. Joking, okay, joking. Oh, God. Imagine what they take from this seminar, right? It's the latest thing now on the trainers list. No, Dr. Dunbar says. Anyway. Then, so I would start doing exchanges where I don't let go, but I'm giving treats. And that's how I would practice feeding dinner. You know, chew on the Kong, thank you. A few bits of kibble, chew on the Kong, thank you. A few bits of kibble. The most wasted thing in dog training is dog kibble, or whatever you feed your dog, whether it's raw diet. Absolutely wasted by most people. Giving it in a bowl for nothing. It's ridiculous. No, use it in training. A meal should be a nice, long, protracted thing. You know, 40 minutes. Think of the mileage you can get out of that. Well, otherwise what? The dog eats it in 45 seconds, and now his life is over. I mean, what's he going to do for the rest of the day? In the wild, he'd be looking for food, and you just ruined it by just giving it to him. It's like this, I mean, this to me is a lot of problem in a lot of relationships. We're just making it so easy for the other person, so easy for kids, so easy for puppies. So make a meal out of that meal. Stretch it out. Use it for exercises like this. And with nothing will illustrate the importance of the difference between prevention and treatment as today. Prevention and treatment with fighting and biting. Prevention is, it's just so easy, it's ridiculous. I mean, you're working with a little puppy that's, what, 4 weeks old, 8 weeks old, 3 months old? I mean, he tries to kill you, but well, the only way you're going to die is laughing. It's like, oh, heart attack. Oh, the puppy killed me. He made me laugh. He growled at me. You know, even at 4 months, you know, very few dogs I've met that are 4 months old where I've thought, whoa, 5 months, you have a totally different kettle of fish. You now have adult-sized jaws, not quite as strong yet, but wow, they can really nail you. So the whole prevention thing is easy. Do it. Except people don't see the importance because they got fluffy little puppy. Anyway, back to this. So, males do better than females. Males do better than hermaphroditic females. Hermaphroditic females do better than females. So we got some masculinization. But it's not just masculinization. I remember the thing I forgot now. It's also turned them a little weird. Now, the process that goes on in the brain isn't just masculinizing the brain. There are two processes, masculinization and defeminization. So in terms of behavior, you do not have a single spectrum. And I'll think of the model of this for humans. This is just wild when this hit Stanford because it explains so much. So now we'd be talking in humans about masculinity and femininity. It is not a single scale with, you know, macho male at one end and super cute female at the other. And that you're here, you've got two total scales. You have a scale of masculinity and a separate scale of femininity. How do we know this? Because we were giving testosterone at different times, and the time for masculinization, the time course, is slightly different for the time course for defeminization. And so we had some animals that were really masculinized and defeminized, like you just saw, Ishtar and Athena. On the other hand, I can't remember these dogs' names now, we had other dogs which were really masculinized, but they hadn't been defeminized at all. You give them estrogen and they just act like female dogs. They come into heat nicely. There's still cyclic hypothalamus and still cyclic working ovaries. Okay? So this is really neat. So what it means is, so now we take the human again, where this was so useful was for understanding human sexuality and gender identity. You're actually placing yourself on two scales. One is, if you like, your femininity scale, and the other is your masculinity scale, and all of those sex differences added up. So you can be someone who's highly feminine, but also highly masculine. On the other hand, you could be, traditional, highly masculine and no feminine traits at all. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, cheers, all right. How are we going to have in the bar tonight? Yeah, only masculine guys, so two very, very different scales. Extremely important point. Anyway, so picking the dogs. We picked 5 males, we picked 5 females, and what have you, and I picked Whip. This is the lowest ranking male in the colony. And they said, why are you picking Whip? And I said, well, you're all picking like high-ranking males. And what we're doing is a hierarchy competition. I said, I want to pick a dog who's hopeless. Because if you look at distributions, pretty much any quality, and you look at sex differences. So let's pick IQ in humans. Okay? That we won't get into in general, who has a higher IQ, males or females, but the individuals with the highest IQs will be male. Also, though, the individuals with the lowest IQs will be male. What you generally get in males is the variation, okay? And what you get in females is the bell curve is much steeper. So what we got in our hierarchy is the top-ranking dog is Ken. Second-ranking dog was Eddie. Then it was a toss-up between a couple of females and Cassius, depending on the day. And then Joe and what have you. Bottom-ranking animal, though, was Whip. That's why I wanted him in. And the fact that I included him, wow, he gave us so many discoveries later on. I mean, this dog was worthless. You do understand? I mean, any other dog walks by now, he goes, I was just playing with that bone. And he just leaves it like that. He's a scaredy cat, and he's the lowest ranking adult animal that we have. So here we go. This is another type of test now. So every week, every animal in the colony is tested against every animal. Well, we started working with 15. 5 males, 5 females, 5 pseudohermaphrodites. So how many tests is that a week? Yeah, a lot of tests, okay, every week. As we went on and did different studies, we ended up working with 24 animals. It was 10 adults and then 3 litters of puppies, 14 puppies coming in. And we did it from when we introduced them together. So the youngest litter, I think, was 8 weeks old when we put them in the big outdoor enclosure every day, every week of their lives. That's a lot of tests. So we look at the dyadic relationships tested one-on-one, and also we look at some group tests. So this is one example of a group test between 5 males. You've got 5 males, you toss out 1 bone. When one dog possesses the bone for 30 seconds, uncontested, you take him out. Throw the bone out to 4 dogs. When one bone has it for 30 seconds, take him out. Throw it out to 3 dogs. The dogs always come out in the same order when they're males. It's absolutely textbook. Okay? And then you end up with Whip has the bone, you let him keep it for 30 seconds, and then you let the next dog in. Cerberus. Then the next dog, Joe. Then the next dog, Cassius. Then the next dog, Eddie. And then used to be Ken, but Ken died off at this point. Okay? Interestingly, when Ken died, we had this group of dogs. And what we have here with these 5 dogs is a perfect correlation with weight, with the hierarchy. A perfect inverse correlation. The top dog was the smallest dog. The second top dog was the second smallest dog, right down to Whip, who's the biggest dog. Now, this is science. Remember I said we want to ask a lot of questions. What questions does anyone want to ask any questions about that? Does that make sense? No, doesn't make sense. And I used to love it because we had a lot of visitors, obviously, to our doggy colony, and I would say, oh, look at our hierarchy. So who do you think's the top dog? Well, he looks like the top dog. Let's put money on this. And we would fleece them. Okay? Because we had this perfect, and by perfect I mean 100% correlation between hierarchy and inversely with weight. And it doesn't make sense to me either. All the hierarchy stuff I read said that weight or strength or speed is important. Okay? And so we need to ask more questions. So what questions would you ask? If you were me back then, yes?
Would it be the same with 5 different dogs?
Very good. Increase the N. Would it be the same with 5 different dogs? This is such an important point she made. So many times you will read something, and it's a study, a veterinary behavior study, a behavior study, or what have you, and it's quoted. Someone says, oh, they did this study, and it shows that, well, the classic is, if you spade bitches, they get more aggressive. Your first question is, would it be the same with different dogs? It's never been repeated. The test has never been confirmed, as we say. So when you do a study in science, you say, wow, these are our findings. In order for that to now be accepted by other scientists, it has to be replicated by a different scientist. If you replicate it, so what? Someone else has to take your study and repeat it with different animals and the different experimenter. Okay? Remember yesterday how I kept saying, oh, this is where I come in the scene. They think they've seen this bitch stand on this day. I look at it. Nope, it's not. We need a different observer here. And by the way, one of the things we work out before we even start recording information is what is the observer bias? This is something I offered to do for the Kennel Club years ago, but they didn't accept for some reason. And what I wanted to do was to have loads and loads of judges. And I wanted to work out the judge bias for obedience judges and for confirmation judges. And it's a, yeah, precisely, it's a very easy thing to do. We do it in our puppy school with setting your syllabus. Exactly the same process. Every trainer has to write their lists of 20. The 20 most important things the puppy needs to learn, and the 20 most common mistakes the owner makes. And from that, one, they make their syllabus, but also what we do is we take all the results from all the trainers and we weight them, feed them into a computer, we then pull out what is the average ranking, and then you can do a correlation coefficient. How close is this trainer to the serious norm? Well, you can do the same with obedience judges. They all watch 10 dogs compete. They score them all. They rate them, 1 through 10. You do the same thing. You can find who are the better judges. Because the acknowledgement we have in observing behavior is everyone sees it differently. What is the observer bias? So we would get all of our students, our undergraduate students and graduate students, would be recording in the same shorthand the same mating interaction or the same bone test. And Dr. Beach would be doing it, and I would be doing it. And then we run them all and we compare them. Okay? And everyone, me included, is seeing it differently. Everyone. That's point number one. Point number two, your subjective impression is often totally wrong. Many times I would go and see Dr. Beach and I would say, oh, wow, such and such is happening with the dogs. He would say, show me the data. Show me the data. One of my trainers the other day moaned, saying, this is a trainer I've had for many years, and she says, my puppies are really down the last couple of years. I think it's all the other trainers you're employing. And so I ran records. I ran the data on 5 years. No, her numbers of puppies are steadily increasing. The numbers of puppies in other locations are radically increasing. Okay, she's not promoting anymore. But the point is, her number of puppies was steadily increasing year to year. I looked at the data. You know, I didn't just fall to the subjective impression. So, does it work with other dogs? This is so important. You go back and read the original study. How many dogs did they use? Probably the most quoted and misquoted piece of behavior information is about the fear period. Anyone here who's read the original study? Okay? You have 7 dogs in this study. This is one of the worst studies ever done. You have 7 dogs in it. Why? One of them died because it's pretty weird. Sorry, they have 7 dogs in the 7-week group. You have 3 groups, you know, very young, like 4 weeks, 7 weeks, and 12 weeks. And these are experimental dogs. They never see people. They're pretty damn weird dogs to start with. They're kept in cages. The test is they're put in a runway, so they're pulled out of a cage, put in a runway. At the end of the runway is an experimenter standing in a white lab coat. And they time how long does it take to run up and make contact with the experimenter. And they do that a few times. Then we move to stage 2. When this little puppy runs up to the experimenter, they give him electric shocks. What they find is the real young puppies run quicker. They will run through the shock to get to a person. Okay? They find that the older puppies run about the same. But the 7-week-old puppies, no, a bunch of them stopped approaching the experimenter. But when you actually look back at the pretest, that these 7 puppies come from 2 litters, and 1 litter is absolutely weird. None of these puppies approach the experimenter in the pretest. I mean, we're now down to 4 dogs. And on the basis of 4 dogs in this group, they came up with the whole notion of the fear period. And that was because they said, well, they have fear period in this animal and this animal, so we propose a fear period of 49 days in the dog. I mean, it's just hooey. It's just, it doesn't stand up. Not been replicated. And how many dogs did they use? Well, they only had 7 in the group because 1 died off. There's meant to be 8 in each group, or 1 died. And then 3 from this litter were totally weird anyway. It's just, you know, it's a really bad study. But you've all heard of it, right? Everybody. And the funny thing is, in the conformation world or the breeding world, they may not know too much about behavior, but they all know about the fear period. Now, we're going to keep our puppies for longer to get them over the fear period. And it doesn't exist. So does it work with other dogs? And how many dogs did they do it with anyway? Would this work with other dogs? No, of course not. You could pick any 5 male dogs, and the likelihood that you would get an inverse correlation with weight is this was so chancy, it was ridiculous. It just so happened these were the 5 dogs we had. This would never replicate. So what questions do you want to ask then? Why the hell did we get this weird situation? Come on, you be the experimenter. What's the next study you're going to do? Yes? Bring in a couple of other, that's a variation on what the lady said here. Yeah, we need, but I didn't want to do that. I want to work with these dogs. Pardon? No, not the same as the female group. That's all mixed up. And they're actually the higher ranking dogs for bigger dogs. Yes?
You would need to figure
Very good. So we need to work out what else. Was there anything else that correlated with hierarchy apart from weight? Age. Oh, that's a good one. Perfect correlation with age. Top dog's the oldest dog. Second top dog's the second oldest dog. All right, so what's your next study you're going to do? Pardon? I can't hear the... Yeah, we've got, forget sex. I'm talking male dogs only here. We found that age is the key. That's good. At what age did they become top dog? And so what's the study you want to do? Start to take the older ones out. Don't you see what this stuff is pointing towards? Think of me back in the 70s now. I'm doing this research. All the time I'm thinking what pet owners would like to know about this. Here we take 5 dogs, 5 adult dogs. We do a test on them. We get some pretty weird results looking at one quality in them. We look at another quality and then we say, well, that totally makes sense. So perhaps the weight thing is just total chance, because the age thing makes sense with the rest of what we think. Remember what I said yesterday? Does it make sense to you? So I now know age has to be really important. So we can't do a study like this. We have to do a different kind of study. A litter study. We have to do a developmental study. This is about development. And doing an experiment like this is close to a waste of time. This is equivalent to doing a single temperament test. All it tells you is what happens with these 5 dogs, with these experimenters on these days. That's not the story. The story is growing up. The story is development. That's what we want to know about, and so that's what we should be studying. We need puppies. Yes?
Would there be more conflict if it was a bitch in heat that was the possession?
If you had a bitch in heat, you wouldn't have conflict, you would have mayhem. Yeah. It would be untestable, because you would just have a bitch getting really fat, chewing the bones, and male dogs licking at her rear end and humping. So, yeah. When... Vis-a-vis who? Male versus female, or
One female in heat.
Yes.
Send it to those dogs. The older male automatically get to the female person.
Oh no, that's hearsay again. That comes from like primate research that higher-ranking males have access to females. That comes from looking at elephant seals, where the males beat the crap out of each other, and the strongest male left now mates oodles of females that year, and maybe the next year until some male beats the crap out of him. That's goats, and that's deer. Dogs are different. No, with dogs, the bitch decides. And the males, they fight with each other, but not over the female. They only fight with each other if they fight. But if you have dogs that get on, they're not going to waste time fighting when there's a bitch in heat. Only really stupid, badly socialized ones do. So this goes back to the rubber logic of yesterday. Well, they're fighting over the bitch. No, they're not. They're fighting because your dogs fight. Have you got it? The fact the bitch is there is probably neither here nor there. All it does is bring these 2 dogs too close together. It's kind of like dogs that fight when you come home. They're left at home all day long on their own and they're fine. When you come home, they fight. We call that owner-present aggression. And what happens here is when you're at work, the dog they live together quite happily apart, like many married couples. And the problem only happens when the owner comes home, because both dogs love the owner. So they both approach the owner. Now they're too close to each other, so the dogs have an argument. Must move along, yeah. Here we go, very quickly. Here goes Whip. Very quick sequence. In comes Joe. Joe just takes the bone. No contest whatsoever. Here comes Cassius. Note the paw. Okay, so he's looking at Cassius, but it's not really a stare. It's kind of like, I'm being anthropomorphic now, so two things. Here's what you see. Here's what I think Joe's thinking. It's like, oh, God, here comes Cassius again. What a jerk. I'll just give him the bone and then he'll shut up. Because Cassius is going to come in like a tank, charging, totally macho. Look at his tail, T++. You know, Joe gives him a little snarl, and Cassius takes the bone. Look at his tail right over his back. The tip is vibrating. He's too tense to eat, though. And this is a typical male dog. I've got it. I've got the bone. I've got the bone. Yeah, but you're not eating it. It's, you know. And this is when Joe would just annoy him. You know, Cassius would snarl at him and stare and get away from me, you know. And Joe would just stand there and look at him, then would walk away, and then I would think intentionally walk back again. Now again, you understand I'm being anthropomorphic here, but it really describes the interaction that's going on. There's Cassius with yon lean and hungry look, that stare. I mean, you can feel that. If you drew a dotted line from where the stare is hitting Joe, it would hit him right in the side of the neck, wouldn't it? Yeah, I mean, you can just see that's exactly where they're staring at. So they're not staring at the other dog's eyes, you know, or else that could, boom, you've got an implosion, an explosion. They're staring right at his neck like that. And Joe, he has to avert his eyes. He's got a little submissive grin, like, okay, Cassius, you know, keep your knickers in a twist or something. And now Whip comes up as well. And Joe, we look at Joe's ears. I mean, he's so perky. This is Beagle humor, basically. He's just standing. Eddie. Eddie comes flying in. He's like a stomach on wheels. And little tiny runt of a dog. You see him now next to Cassius. Cassius is like young and vigorous and muscular and what have you. But he's going to lose it. This encounter's lost. I mean, that tells the story right there. And what's going through Cassius's mind? What's he saying? Captions, please.
One day.
And, one day. Yeah, actually, he is, isn't he? He's kind of like, Caesar, you'll have a knife. But he's saying, in your back. It's not going to be a mano-a-mano fight, you know. But also, he's resigned. And also, he's really uptight, thinking, oh, God, why am I standing so close to Eddie, who has a bone? I want to get away from here. The first couple of steps they take are, oh, God. They daren't look. Here's the things they can't do. They can't look at the other dog. They can't totally look away. Okay? They can't move away quickly. They'd get nailed so fast. So they have to sort of really stiff, and they're like, ooh. And then you get this stuff. It's really interesting to watch. And now, here we see now the licking, the yawning, the peeing, all of the displacement behaviors. Cassius is overflowing with energy and anxiety, and we've got to have an outlet somewhere. If it were a human being, they would smoke a cigarette or drink a beer, you know, or sip on their water bottle, whatever, you know, it is. They'll just get jumped on by the other dog. Don't know why. Yeah. Why? Here's two questions you ask. What and why? You always have an answer to what. All you got to do is open your eyes, observe, quantify. Why? It's an interesting question to ask, but you'll never know the answer. Like I could tell you, oh, why? Well, I'll tell you. Dogs will not tolerate speed over 15 miles an hour. It could be total bullshit. It could be my opinion. It could be, I really believe that. But the point is, no one knows. You understand this? This is really important for today. Why did the dog bite? I don't know, and I don't care. What do I care about? No, I'm not interested in why. I'm not interested in systemic. I'm not interested in, it could be maternal aggression. It could be an Akita. It could be having a bad hair day. Irrelevant, 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 because I'm going to treat it all the same way anyway. If the dog has a brain tumor or he's just scared, I'm still going to treat him the same way. It will not affect my treatment protocols at all. How serious is it? That's all I want to do, is to quantify how serious is this, and I split the cases into two now. Cases I'm going to work with and resolve, if I can wise the owner up, and cases I'm not going to touch. And I'll do that for fighting and biting. And when you get to the fighting thing, the cases that I'm not going to touch, you are not going to resolve. There's not one person in this room who's going to resolve them. You're dealing with an animal that does not have bite inhibition. This dog mutilates other dogs. And you may do a lot of work to stop him getting into fights. You still haven't done anything about his bite inhibition vis-a-vis other dogs. And one day he will bite another dog and he will damage it, and you're responsible for that. This dog now, the problem needs to be managed. We don't need to euthanize him. He can live quite happily in a family of one. But he should not be around other dogs because he cannot be trusted. He can be trusted around humans, strangely enough. Okay? So really important, what versus why. Okay? We know for cats, for example, when cats approach each other and they're friendly, they run. Don't approach slowly. Why? I've got no idea. All we know is that a cat will put its tail up and run towards his friend. And we know in fights it's like... And this is going on for like 35 minutes as they're creeping millimeters at a time. Okay? And this is what behaviorism is all about. I was trained as a behaviorist. What do behaviorists do? They observe and quantify. You will seldom hear a behaviorist ask the question, why? That would be a cognitive psychologist or someone reading tarot cards or what have you. You will never know for certain. You understand the difference? I like doing it. It's fun to ask why. Okay? But you will never know for certain. What we absolutely know for certain, it's indisputable, is what the dog did. And this is the way I approach training. You will see this on Sunday. Everything now is a game. Why? Because I can quantify what. It's the best way I can give the owner results that they're succeeding. Wow, I said, your dog sat for 5.9 seconds. That is 235% better than last week. Well done. You have a Jack Russell that sits still for 5.5 seconds. Let's have the same improvement next week, and what do we have? A Jack Russell that sits still for 15 seconds. Whoa. If we do the same thing again, we're nearly up to a minute. That's cool. And now the owners don't give up. So this what thing is really important. You will never argue about what. It's times for those of you who know me, know my views about training. I listen to everyone. I embrace all sorts of training methods, looking for the good things. I generally don't get into arguments about technique or philosophy. I say, show me. If you say, oh no, I don't do train dogs that way, it's stupid to use food lures and food rewards and da-da-da-da-da-da, I say, you know a better way? Show me. Pick 5 dogs, show me, pick 5 for me, and let's go. Ready, steady, go. All right. Finished. And that's it. Time and trials to criterion. What? We quantify. And then there's no argument. Example of this, I do stuff with search and rescue dogs. I work with Rocky Mountain search and rescue dogs. And we had a massive conference. There were people from Europe and what have you, and people from other mountains. And the other mountain people were generally single dog units. The handler in every case but one was male, and the dog in every case but one was a German Shepherd. In the Rocky Mountain group, I think there's only 3 men. All the other handlers are women. There's only 3 shepherds, all owned by 1 woman. These are shepherds, actually, I select for the team. All the other dogs are Labrador, it's a 3-legged Dalmatian, Bernese Mountain Dog, little tiny toy fluffy thing, and what have you. And start to give a talk. No one's listening for these other groups. And, arms folded, leaning back, legs up on the, it's like we're not going to take in any information into our brains at all from Dr. Dumba. Like this. And so I said, okay, hands up anyone who's used food in training. So all my group put their hands up like this. None of theirs do. I say, right, stand up, get your dogs. If you've used food in training, over here. If you haven't, over there. Everyone, have your dog go sit down, sit, stand down, stand. Finish. Ready, steady, go. Finish, 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 finish. Not one person over here has even got their dog sitting. It's unbelievable. I was just about to say, I rest my case. You see, there's nothing to say anymore. Time and trials to criterion. We've all finished. And then a woman comes in the back with this shepherd, and this was actually a failed Mountie dog, which had mutilated her arm. And, they get a biting dog as a search and rescue dog. It's like, God. I guess if you're dying in the snow, it's better to be found and bitten than dead. But I think there's something wrong with that logic. Anyway, she's having struggles with this dog. He's big sucker. And she comes in, and she's missed this whole demo, so I do it again. And she joins the food group. I said, what are you doing over there? You just told me you've never used food in training. She says, oh, I have now. I went outside and tried it. Watch. Sit, down, sit, stand. She could now control this dog. It no longer wanted to mutilate her because she's not pushing it around and jerking it around. We then get out into the field. I remember there's a guy from Poland who's got a bright orange uniform on with his German Shepherd and everything. And I just says, okay, guys, we're just going to quantify what your dogs do. We've got 2 children. We're going to lose them all day long. Each of you will get to find the little boy and the little girl twice. Stopwatch. Best dog at the end of the day is the Labrador. The Labrador, basically, you couldn't time him. He would come out and go, oh, they're over there. Oh, there's one. There's the other one. Got them. Found. Finished. It's unbelievable. He had a little problem, though. He barked as he did it. And they all joked at this young girl, she's about 19, with the Labrador. And I said, well, tomorrow we're teaching him shush, speak and shush, because he is an avalanche dog. You don't, you don't want a dog in avalanche kind of, whoa, whoa, whoa! We've lost 46 more. It's like, people who work in the fire department and they're setting fires, Yeah, we're burying victims here. We're a good dog. All right. So what and why? What and why? What prevents arguments? Here we go. Eddie's got the bone. I put Ken in here because he would have been the top dog if he was still alive. But he's dead at this point. Sirius Beagle. Probably, of all the influence I've had in my life from humans, from Dr. Beach, from various dogs, this critter influenced my thinking more than pretty much anything. And strangely enough, in second place comes a book called Sirius by Olaf Stapledon, which had probably the second biggest influence on my life. And the influence that the book Sirius had was, this was about, anyone read Sirius? Fantastic book. Oh, it's a fantastic book. It's by Olaf Stapledon. Written about 1898 or something. Kind of a kooky writer. Wrote some funny sort of science fiction stories. Sirius is a Welsh sheepdog that has the brain of a human, but the body and senses of a dog. So the constraints to his intelligence were the body of the dog. No finger and thumb in apposition, but the senses. And it was in the book. I was doing research on olfactory discrimination in dogs sniffing estrus urine. And it's when Sirius describes an estrus bitch to this human. And I thought, I'm missing the whole thing. I'm just dealing with numbers. I'm missing the whole vibrant part of what being a dog is all about. They see life totally differently from us. They're privy to so many more senses. And I've got to try and see it from the dog's point of view. Boom. Just changed my mind about aggression. Everyone at that time was thinking of aggression as the dog is the aggressor. How do we punish it out of him? And I thought, well, how does the dog feel? Does he get a joy out of biting people? And it was just so obvious to me, the dog's scared. That's all. Stop pushing him. Whoa! End of problem. Just like that. Stop being a jerk and compounding the problem with this poor critter. You think he wants to bite you? And it was cemented a number of times. Once with an Akita, I remember. And this was, no, not the one that bit me. This was a biting Akita I went to see, and I asked them to muzzle him before I came in. And they used a Mickey muzzle. And the Akita's in the hallway, and I'm standing in front of him. And you know how Akitas can do this wonderful thing? They're very square, and their legs are down. 3 legs did not move at all. The dog's body did not move, and he just picked up one leg and went, chum. And this Mickey muzzle just drops off. And then he looks at me and goes, "Brr." And this was a bad biting Akita. If he had nailed me, I would hurt. And so I said, "Quit it." And what did he reply? Now, I'm a smart person. If you asked me to go and bang my head on that wall, I would probably only do it once. And that's important because a lot of people have been banging their heads on the same wall for all their lives. They're still beating on the dog when it growls. I learned in one shut up, this is not working. The behavior is not going in the intended direction. Things are getting worse. How the hell can I get out of this situation and save face? And as soon as I said those words to myself, Akita, save face, it's very like Japanese, I thought, he's thinking the same thing. The Akita is thinking, oh my God, this is not going in the intended direction. How can I get away from this human and save face? And that's when I developed what I call the retreating reprimand. Basically, you've got to put some distance between you and this dog. You can't turn your back on it, or else you get what I call the shepherd bite. Yeah, that's how shepherds bite vets. It's always the same. They get, God, amazing. Can I use you? Here's a veterinarian with a shepherd. They don't even know this dog. And you bring it into the clinic, a big boy shepherd, and they say, oh, let me have a look then. Yeah, oh, yeah, like this. I'm thinking, are you crazy? Do you have a death wish? But the dog is perfectly good. The dog's standing there like this. Then, you realize this is not right. Yeah. Where's the Stevie Wonder? And that dog is standing, and he says, oh, let me just get an ophthalmoscope. As soon as you break that stare, bam, you get nailed. Okay? So you can't move away, you can't look away. So I developed this thing, here's the Akita, and I was like, hey, that's not right, buddy. I would not do that if I were you. You don't want to be growling at someone, do you? Come here, pup. And the Akita just runs up and sits. Come sit, come sit, come sit tree, come sit tree, come sit tree, boom, boom, boom. And that's the retreating reprimand. You've got to get some distance here. As you get to know dogs better, you can do it mentally. You just need to give this dog some mental space because you are really crowding him and pushing it. So let's change quickly. One of the best things you can do is something really bizarre and silly. Campbell's Jolly Routine, remember that? Oh, wow. When that came out, and this is, we're talking now, 70s, wild. I read this and thought, now, here's something that makes sense. And it's just a wonderful thing. Works in stress management with people. You know, you go into a bar. You know this routine. Two men in a bar and one goes to take a leak. You know how men fight in bars? Surely you've seen it. I mean, and one guy goes to take a leak and he comes back and someone's sitting on his stool. And he says, hey, that's my stool. And someone says, yeah? Yeah, I'm sitting there. Oh, it's funny, I can't feel you. Okay, okay. And this thing then escalates. And before we know it, someone's picking up a bottle and smashing it and going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you've got all this like weird aggression. And the question is what you do. And the best response, because you can't be obsequious, you get punched out. And you can't be aggressive. That'll push it up more. Okay? So the only thing you can do is something totally bizarre. And things like you say, God, have you got the time? Oh, no, Jesus, look at the time. Oh, my God, I'm out of here. And most people are left like, what the hell was that? But now you've diffused and you're out of there. And with the dog, just... So you got a dog like, "Buh," and you're going, that's funny, that's hilarious. Hey, come here, sit. Just disappears, it's brilliant. Because, you see, dogs, like children, they want feedback. And they've learned, hey, if you growl, they shut up. And they've learned this stuff. Why do you think it's there? They've learned if you snap, they'll stop grooming you. I mean, all this stuff is, if you throw a tantrum, they'll let you stay on the couch. And all this behavioral baggage is there in the history. You just now give inappropriate feedback. If in doubt, give no feedback. If you want to be really funny, giggle and laugh. You know, and then start a proper dialogue going. It has a dramatic effect. So, you're waving madly.
Yeah, she told me to wait, man. I'm sorry, I'm kind of young. I didn't really grow up in the 70s. What did you say about the jolly thing?
Oh, the Campbell's Jolly Routine.
I have no idea what you're
Yeah, the Jolly Routine is... The Jolly Routine is just clap. Listen, I'm trying to tell you what it is. Yeah. Then shut up and shut up, okay? Right. The Jolly Routine is exactly what it sounds. Just do something that's happy, okay? But it's not direct. No, it's a technique. But it was written in a book in the 70s, 79, I think it came out. And it's not directed right at the dog in the dog's face, okay? It's over here. And works brilliantly with kids. You know the kid thing where they do this cry for attention. And you just move away and you say, that is a really good cry. Woo! Russian judge says 9 points for the cry, 2 points for the fall. Not bad at all. Wait. At that point, the child has stopped crying. And so now you say, that's really brave. That's cool. Yeah, that actually was, I would say, it wasn't a 2-point fall. That was a 4-point fall. And you're really brave not to be crying now. And then you don't end up, with all the attention-getting stuff. Yes?
I know the eye contact is very important. When you're retreating, do you glance back? You don't break eye contact?
You keep eye contact all the time out of the corner of your eye. Yeah, and the dog knows that. But you do not go eyeball to eyeball, and you do not totally look away. So like it's an oblique retreat. So here's Sirius. All right, let's go through and we'll see what Sirius is like. This is Quiblu with the litter you saw whelped. So this is obviously James here. Boop. You can see the diamond on his back, triangle. This is typical mum eating. Pups come first. Mum nibbles if she can. This is Pomona and her litter. Pups come first. Mum gets it if she can. We obviously feed the mothers separately. This is just... Here's Pomona again, trying to eat. Pups come first. Mum, get some if you can. This is Zelda. And here's Sirius. Now, Sirius was the most objectionable, belligerent arsehole of a puppy I have ever seen in my life. He was big. He was always into fights. And, of course, bigness counts if you're all the same age. You've probably worked out the age thing. If a dog is older, that means he was an adult while this one was a puppy, so he was bigger in development. Yeah, size is really important in development. But end size is meaningless. Adult size is meaningless. So Sirius is very big. All his litter mates were female, so he had this inflated view of his own self-importance. And his mother was a bitch. I mean, I mean that she was a female dog, but she was bitchy as well. She was just not nice. Very sharp, very high-ranking female dog, but ruled with an iron fist. And you'll see different rulers in dogs. Some are they're really gentle, like Ken was fantastic. He would share his bones and his resting place with anyone. It's just that no male dogs would share with him. And so he had these wonderful relationships with female dogs, low-ranking female dogs. Ken and Doris. It's like, it's like he loved her or whatever. But whenever, of course, Ken always ends up with the bone. So Doris actually was number 2 on the line. She'd say, "Hi, Ken, can I have the little end?" Well, "Yes, absolutely," he said. So she was a very privileged female because of her friendship with Ken. Zelda, no, very hard, a very masculine type of personality. Hierarchy is important, it's mine, I want it. But, she's not even letting her puppies eat. So if we ask about Sirius, remember, what's the biggest question in behavior? Nature, nurture. Why was Sirius belligerent and bellicose? Yeah, could be nurture. Yeah, nature, it's pretty obvious, because he's Zelda's son. But he also had to grow up with her. Could you imagine that? I mean, growing up with her? Awful. Of course he is the way he is. Put up or shut up. He had to put up, or else he didn't get to eat. I mean, this stuff did not stop. So it's a wonderful illustration of nature, nurture. The best one, by the way, I think is my son, Jamie, who, nature, what is he? He's genetically half English, half Chinese. But when he was a little boy, he used to say, "I'm half English, half Chinese, but all American." Grew up in America. He's American. The power of nurture is huge. It's a wonderful example because it takes those English genes, and those lovely Chinese genes and changes them into an American person. Okay? And the stuff that is so deeply ingrained in me, for example, like, leather on willow. You won't even know what I'm talking about. Neither does he. He's American. Tungsten on pig bristle. These are the things, the very essence of my being, the things that thrill me, and he doesn't get the same joy over them at all. Hasn't got a clue. To him, it's baseball. I mean, God, nothing happens. Or American football. You have to watch for 3 hours to see 11 minutes of action. Isn't that amazing? You watch for 3 hours to see a clock move for 60 minutes, during which time, for 49 minutes, they're standing still. Unbelievable. Anyway, so Sirius. Here's Sirius eating. This is Sirius over here. This is Wings, okay? And this is Storm. See the big white patch on her neck on the right side? That is Sirius' sister, Zelda's daughter. So here's Sirius. Now, Sirius is not eating. Look at he's right in the food bowl. Look at what Storm's doing. She's giving him a shoulder push, and she's eating. I just love this. I mean, it's just This stuff goes on and on and on, and Sirius is like, and she's just eating. But she's leaning into him, and he's going to crack. He will not be able to withstand that pressure. He will eventually give up, and she will win this interaction. She's just tucked in. She's totally unconcerned. That's brilliant. You know, and there he is. Like, it's my food bowl. But someone should explain to him, yeah, but there's food in there, and you could actually eat it, you know. Here they are outside, same thing again. Now, he wins more encounters than she does, and when he turned to be about 5 months, he totally cracked her. He was now top ranking, and he wouldn't take any rubbish from her. But growing up together, whoa, these battles went on, I mean, literally for 5-10 minutes. So here's a little bone test outside. She has the bone, and he is not going to get it. When a bitch has a bone, you have got to be totally confident to take it away. So if you're growling before the encounter, well, you've lost it before it starts. So like bitches are dying to hear the growl. Oh, he's growling at me. So she knows she can keep it now. Because a high-ranking dog with confidence probably would not make noise, would just come in and take the bone, and if she just held on to it, there would be a violent fight lasting less than a second and a half. It would be so fast and furious, and it would be over. And then she wouldn't have the bone, and she wouldn't do it again. So this is what the whole physical force thing is all about. It only happens once. And it only happens in a situation where these dogs, fights and fights and fights, they never harmed each other. I mean, their teeth are like needles. They get lots of pinpricks all over them, but no damage done, but the psychological scars. I'm never going up against that dog again. That's the hierarchy. It's, if you like, psychological dominance would be a much better term, because it certainly is domination. It's domination of will, but it's not physical domination. It's a mind game. It's just like playing poker. There's many times we watch with dogs and we'd say things like, well, he's just got jack high. Meaning he's going to growl him. So here's Sirius with jack high. I said, she's got a full house. She knows it. She's piling money on the table. Because the other thing you want to do is when you win an encounter, you rub the other dog's nose in it. Total myth that if a dog shows signs of appeasement, the other dog will slack up. Absolutely the opposite. As soon as the first sign you get that an encounter is decided is one dog shows that he's lost. Immediately after that, the other dog will increase the fury of the mental pressure or the physical attack. So if it's a physical fight, the winning dog will now go, yo, 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 right in front of that dog's face. And the other dog will be going, and maybe even take a couple of bites too. If it's over a bone, the dog will go, "Buh," and maybe then approach the loser and rub the bone down their body or drop it in front of them and say, go on, go for it. And that other dog walks away, and it's so humiliating. It's exactly the same as poker. Have you ever seen someone in poker? And they say, oh, it's too much for me, I fold. What have you got? And the guy closes his cards up. You've got to pay to see him, buddy. And puts them down. They're just rubbing his face in it. Why? So he can really bluff more the next time. So it's a lot of good analogies to that. Was there a question there, someone I saw? Oh, good. There you go. Zzz, thank you for the question. So now she's got her legs like this. He's coming around the side. You can see he's starting to push into her. She just resists the push. And this, I mean, it's just like kids in the back of a car. I mean, it really is funny. You know, he's touching me. No, he's not. He's touching me. You just move up against your sister and really annoy her. Or you do this routine. It's beautiful. He's trying to get a paw on it. No way. She's tucked it under her body, 3-paw contact up front. He's such a loser, Sirius. He's given up now. It's over. Now you see he's a different encounter, same thing. He's given up, and now you see the what you call it behaviors, displacement behaviors coming out. So it's really interesting. He's got his hackle stuck in the air, his tail stuck in the air, looking like a total jerk. It's kind of like the equivalent of there's a bunch of guys over there in a bar, and they're not looking at you. Their backs are all turned. And you're trying to impress your girlfriend, so you flip them off. And I'll do the English side. Well, no, I'll do the American side. It's much ruder. And so you sort of go, ugh! And right as you do that, they all turn around to look at you. And that's where Sirius is. It's like, oh. So he's in a tricky situation, and the release comes out from the tongue. He licks or he yawns. Okay? And now she does a butt swipe. Oh, I love females. They're just, she's got it, and she's just rotating. She swings around so her butt goes right in front of her face like that, and he's going to have to move his head because a rectum is like crossing across it. It's just so wonderful. And you see people do this placement stuff too. When you see someone who's really cool, they usually turn their back on an aggressor. So someone's giving them grief, and they take a step back and actually push into them. And you cannot argue with the backside. You just can't. Like, how many times have I told you don't do that? And it just, boo, you have lost the encounter. Now we're fighting. That's Sirius about to bite Storm. And these fights would go on and on and on and on and on. Storm about to bite Sirius. And Storm bitten Sirius. Got him on the ear. And there's Sirius fouling. You don't do that. One of the points of play, as we'll go over, is you learn how to fight. That's the whole point. And grabbing a leg is a foul. Grabbing the abdomen is a disqualification foul. The Marquis of Dogsbury rules, you bite anything from the neck forwards. You bite the scruff, you bite the soft part of the neck, you bite the cheeks, you bite the forehead, you bite the ears, you bite the top of the head. That's kosher fighting. Okay? And they learn to do it, and again, it's very stereotyped. When you've seen a fight, say we had one between, this is right in the middle of the Canine Games, a big male Chesapeake runs over and grabs big ears, papillon, grabs a papillon by the soft part of the throat, and the papillon sort of screams, and I'm there right away. I said, don't touch the dog while he's screaming, so I'll deal with it. I said, come, pop, 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 pop. And he stops screaming so we can pick him up. So you don't want to create a screamer. That's horrible. If you pick up a dog that's screaming, you've got a screaming dog before you know it. Pick him up. I check the dog over. Nothing damaged at all. Nothing damaged at all. At which point now the papillon's totally fine. And we actually got the dogs to sniff and do their thing again. You can't have 90 pounds of dog grab the soft tissue around the neck without believing in bite inhibition. You get the point? And especially in the flurry of a dog fight. And then you look at it in slow motion, 5 times you bit the other dog on the soft part of the neck. You're talking about jaws that can bite through metal. What inhibition and control they develop. And they develop it during play. And Storm will yelp with a leg bite. They hurt a lot. Okay? And that's how dogs gradually learn.
So what about an only dog, like a one-litter bitch?
As I said,
Where's she going to learn?
you've got to foster it really quickly, or as soon as possible, do dog play stuff. And otherwise, we won't learn it. Singletons, you've really got to move and hustle. which then really means we need to reevaluate a lot of this fostering stuff. That to foster single animals it's not on. It's not good news. You're going to produce a very weird dog and certainly with not good bite inhibition. So in foster programs, always send out 2. Like we took 2 kittens. Everyone had 2. And so now we got pretty good kittens. They got great bite inhibition. They're really well trained, by the way. They can both do garden recalls. Kittens come, they will come from out of sight, running and sit. And they're actually better trained than Claude, which doesn't say much, I guess. There we go. You've seen that one before. Okay, now, Sirius, he was really tough. And one-on-one, he was beating out pretty much every dog apart from James. James was the top dog in a slightly older litter. Okay? We decided, development, so we're looking at hierarchies developing within the litter. And what happens, the heaviest dogs are higher ranking, and most heaviest dogs are male. So you're getting a lot of higher ranking dogs are male and heavy. But some big females are high ranking too. The question is then, what happens when we put the litters together? Okay, so we move into this part of the study. And this shows you size differential. This is Chevy on the right and his sister Mimi, who was named after my ex-wife. And Mimi was a pretty neat dog. Actually, she had a personality like my ex-wife. She was very loving, very tolerant, pretty high-ranking, smarter than a whip, but just wouldn't take flack. Would take a lot to a certain point, and then kaboom. Okay? And this gives you an idea of the size differential within the litter. Well, what about the size differential between litters? It's enormous. Just 1 week's difference in age, and you've got a hell of a weight advantage. 2 weeks, it's colossal. So we're putting 3 litters together here, and I think the ages were something like 8, 10, and 12 weeks. Sirius is 8 weeks old. Mimi is 10 weeks old. She's a big puppy. So here's some more. Here's Chevy with Cadillac, the battle of the ears. Chevy was the total runt of the entire pack now. He was runt puppy, who says, I'm flying out of here. It's Chevy again. I love Chevy. Oh, here's the hierarchies. Do we have the pointer again? Anyone? Stick, anything? Rip something off the wall? Thank you. We'll need it for this. Thank you very much. Is this the light thing? Oh, yeah. There we go. Good. This here, can you see it? Is the male. It keeps going on and off, but you get the idea. There, I keep pressing. Oh, there we go. If I keep hitting it, it stays on. This is the male hierarchy. Okay? And this is in months. So that'll probably be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so that's in months. So these are the male dogs, and they read off James, Franklin, McLaren, Sirius, Chevy. It's the way it is, every test. Here we have a little screw-up between Sirius and McLaren. And eventually it's resolved with McLaren on top. It's just typical male puppy hierarchy. It's decided very early on at 2 months. We actually saw the hierarchy as early as 3 and 4 days. We did teat expropriations. Really funny. You pull one puppy off a teat, and then you cover it with an elastoplast, a bandage. And you always make sure that there's one less teat per puppy, so all the other puppies are attached and no teats are available. Then you let the puppy go and see what he does. High-ranking puppies are really dumb. They go up to a teat and say, I want this teat. It's occupied. And they push and push and push, and the teat stretches and stretches, and all of a sudden, this other puppy goes, and the teat sort of goes, and the puppy grabs it. Lower-ranking puppies become alternative thinkers. They come up to a teat, oh, it's occupied. They back up, go to another teat, oh, it's occupied. Do this. It's really interesting, little difference in behavior that has tremendous generalizations in adulthood. You know, it always cracks me up when, like, obedience people say, yeah, I want to get a top-ranking dog so he's smart. I say, well, number one, he won't be smart. He'll be dumber than a rock. But number two, that's exactly what you want. You don't want a smart dog. You don't want to do obedience, say, with a Chow Chow Shiba Malamute cross, where you say, dog, sit, and the dog says, why? You know, the dog's like this lady in the audience. Yeah, why? You just want to go, oh, yes. You know, golden retriever is a classic example. They're sort of unquestioning. Sit, okay. Okay. All right. Anything else I can do for you? You know, I love it. Here's the female hierarchy. As you can see, all you need to do is look at the lines. And pretty much, you've got a hierarchy there, but you've got a lot more weirdness. What the hell happened that month? Oh, look at this month. The bottom, tied for bottom dog, beat out Mimi, who's the top dog. Otherwise, it's a lovely hierarchy. So what it means here is, if one dog is over another, it beat it in the test, unless there's an arrow like this. So here it means James beat Franklin and McLaren and Sirius and Chevy. Franklin lost to James, but Franklin beat McLaren and Sirius and Chevy. You see what it means? So these arrows, you get a lot more arrows with the females. Here's one here where we've got Mimi is here. She's second-ranking female, but the two bottom-ranking dogs, Halifer and Dolly, both beat her. Okay? So you've got a hierarchy there, but a lot more things changing it. What changes it? We couldn't work it out. It did seem that as they got older, if they came in heat, they'd go up a couple of notches. If they were pregnant, they'd go up a couple of notches. But there were days, you know, it was the wind blowing from the east. I have no idea. There were days we would come into the colony and everybody could sense it. And the funny thing was, my male assistants were the most sensitive to the atmosphere. A lot of the female undergraduates weren't, but the male guys would come in, male undergraduates, and say, whoa, what's up with the dogs today? And I said, I don't know. We'd test them out. Top dog, Zelda. Second dog, Pomona. Third dog, Quiblu. Next dog, Eddie. And the interesting thing was the male dogs knew it too. This didn't happen very often, once every couple of months, but the male dogs would not push the females. Then the next day, be back to normal again. Eddie, Cassius, Joe, Zelda, da-da-da-da-da. So what you've got is a very distinct male hierarchy, a pretty distinct female hierarchy, but they move up and down like this. And often it's like this: male, 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 female, male, female, male, female. But some days it can be female, 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 male, 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 female. You understand? So the hierarchy is there, but it's definitely changing. And it will change in different situations, as it does when you live with a dog. It is okay to have a dog and say, hey, we understand I am higher ranking, that if a decision is to be made, I will make it and you will do it. Why? Because I'm the daddy. That's why. However, when we're walking, you can decide which way we go. On the couch, you can decide which end you sit on if you want. You know, you can let the dog in certain situations say, you can be the boss here. And it's not countermanding your authority. It's no different from having a kid and you say, right, let's go out to eat. You choose where we go. Or very early on with my sons, I traveled a lot with him. By the time he was 4, he could negotiate airports. And he could find the rental car and all stuff like this. And I said, well, you be in charge. You tell me where to go. And for him, it was a fantastic game. I'm not countermanding my authority, you know. So it's the same with dogs, because people think, oh, I can't let the dog do that. I can't let the dog go through a door in front of me. I daren't let the dog be higher than me, so I have to go upstairs first. It's like, get a break. You know, there's certain things that you do for safety, for common courtesy, like with Omaha, I always used to go through doors first. And I would stand outside, check I'd got my keys, and he would have to sit. And I made a big deal about going from inside to outside. Then I would say, outside, sit. So as soon as he got outside, I would say, sit, and he had to sit quickly, so he knows, you've got to be on the ball now because you're outside. With Phoenix, for some reason, I reversed it. I would open the door and say, Feeny, outside, sit. And then I would come out, check I got my keys, and shut the door. And I thought, well, she's a lady, of course she should go first. But same sort of thing. She is not the boss because she goes first. She's going first because I said, after you. You know, I'm the one who decides, okay? So it's really silly because that type of thinking just takes the joy out of a relationship. Again, back to E. E. Cummings. Give them the scalpel, they dissect a kiss. What the hell is the point of having a dog if you can't enjoy him in bed in the morning? It's the only way I get up some mornings. You know, Kelly says, Claude. I think, oh no! And I pull, we have a dog cover, and I just pull it up because Claude has no respect for personal space or body parts. He's going to jump on this bed, and I know where his feet are going to land, you know. And then he likes to do early morning nuzzle, which is his head, which is huge, comes up and it just goes, and he wants to bury it under your armpit or between your legs. Well, you're going to wake up very quickly, I'll tell you, you know. So, but anyway, so this is the picture. At the top is the hierarchy of male and female puppies. We also have the hierarchy of male adult dogs, hierarchy of female adult dogs, the hierarchy of adults. Then we have the hierarchy of all 24 dogs. So do you now get the picture? Yes, we have a hierarchy, but it's not fixed in stone. It can change from day to day. Very top dogs are willing to share and totally reverse the hierarchy because they have the confidence to do so. And very high-ranking dogs, when they put down another dog, if it is an over-the-top put-down, the underdog won't stand for it. And they will rebuke the high-ranking dog, and the high-ranking dog will take it. Exactly the same as a child saying, well, there's no need to do that. I was just coming home late from school, and you shout at me all that time like you don't like me and don't love me. That was a little over the top. And the parent will often say, you're right, I'm sorry. It's just that I was frightened, you weren't home from school, and I started to panic. So it's yes! Good Lord, this better be a damn good question.
All these tests for dominance, that's done on the bone?
Yes.
Thank you.
But that was all. But we did many additional tests which are not represented here. Things like we would take a weekend, and every hour on the hour, someone would come up and plot down where is every dog and what is it doing. Okay, all through the night we would have that. So going on. And what did we find? We would find, for example, always the closest dog to Joe was Cassius, and always the closest dog to Cassius was Joe. And from this, we found if two adult male dogs are going to be fighting, it'll be Cassius giving Joe grief. It's perfect. That's what dogs are like. They obviously really like each other. Why? when they have the whole enclosure, which is twice the size of this room, by the way, where they lived. They could sleep anywhere. They slept together. Every day of their life, they cuddled up and slept together. 2 intact male dogs, born, 4 days apart. But Cassius, it's like he hated Joe. Whereas Joe, you thought he'd really love Cassius, but the growling, oh God, stop it. So we did lots of stuff as well, access to toys. We built a pyramid toy that just had room for one dog at the top. And it was really funny watching the dogs play that. And it correlates well. That, yeah, a high-ranking dog will let a low-ranking dog have it. Then all of a sudden, he will just say, get off. And he will sit on the top. Or he will leave it vacant. You know, so some real neat ancillary stuff went along with it. Right, I'm going to do this really quickly to finish, I think. There we go. These are the puppies outside. That's me harassing a puppy. I'm taking a photograph, you see. Well, obviously I'm taking a photograph because it's a photograph, isn't it? God, don't we say dumb things sometimes? Here's the moment. There's Sirius in the food bowl. To the left is Mimi. To the right is Storm. So he's being a jerk with Storm. Mimi saunters up and says, hey, how about I have some of this food? And Sirius does his jerky thing. Now, one-on-one, he could take on pretty much any puppy there was. It's really interesting, because this is what packs are all about. And then it starts. This was a fight that lasted about 4 seconds. Mimi literally creamed Sirius. This is the first time he's really been up against a puppy who outweights him. Okay? And I think it came from the fact that she was also a calm, tolerant dog, and she just exploded when he did this shoulder-pushy thing and growl in the food bowl. Those 4 seconds changed. I'm just going to talk these through, and we'll have a later break, because I want to finish this. Those 4 seconds changed his entire personality. They changed his behavior, but also they just changed the way he was. Sirius became a wimpy, wormy, low-profile, obsequious, apologetic, almost nice dog. One little altercation. Now, yes, it was a physical one. It could have been done quite easily by purely psychological means. So if we're using a human analogy for raising puppies, the equivalent would be, you've got it in the Sirius video, right, with Chumley doing one of his jerko tantrum things. And I just pick him up when he's screaming on his owner's lap and say, excuse me, quit it. That's all. That's all we need to do, and that's the mental equivalent, and that was it. His career as a bully had ended. The entire pack dynamics changed. Outside that was Cerberus hiding there. Here's the holes they do. And actually, he's hiding because we're throwing earth clods at him. Incoming, and he'd run inside, and he used to love this game. And then this is Joe, 13 years old, a couple of weeks away from death. All our beagles reached 13, but died at 13. Very interesting. It's probably because they were laboratory beagles, and that they have this life expectancy, and that's it. It's clocking down. Blind and deaf. And still managed to lure, reward, train him. We got some lovely pictures of me training Joe when he's blind and deaf. In the morning with Joe, we had to wake him up. Oh, he didn't realize it was daytime. And you had to go up to him and say, hey, Joe, and rub his little head, and he'd, oh. So then he'd walk around and pee, bump into a few things, have some food, lie down again. Here's Eddie, again, 13 years old. This is what the pack is about. This is what puppy training is about. Old animals, or at least exposing them to animals of different ages. It is very dangerous to let a puppy play in a play group of similar-aged puppies. You only do it for a short time, and you should interrupt it every 15 seconds. We'll talk more about that this afternoon. One day we have a bone left over. We've been testing the whole group, 24 dogs, and we have a bone, so we toss it into the colony. And this interaction happens. Puppy gets a bone. Another puppy takes it away. Another puppy takes it away. James gets the bone. He's king puppy. The whole colony goes quiet. A circle starts to form. All the dogs form a circle around James in the center, all looking at it. This is spooky. So if you can imagine, we've tossed in this bone, we're going back to get a cup of coffee, and we all like, wow. We stop and we look back, okay? And everyone then is watching. And Doris comes inching forwards. Doris, low-ranking female, Ken's buddy, stomach on wheels again. She's inching forwards like this. No other dogs are approaching. She makes contact on this bone, and James is going, and she takes hold of this bone. She starts to tug and tug and tug and tug, and she's just cracking James, the puppy, and he lets go. Within half a second, Joan, adult female, comes flying forwards, knocks Doris over, grabs the bone, gets bowled over by Cassius, and then Ken walks up and says, thank you. Cassius leaves, and Doris comes up and shares the bone with Ken. And we went, wow. I said, everybody, run back, write it down. So everyone does the shorthand, and we compare. We said, that's what I got. That's incredible. And one of my girl undergraduates says, we're doing it again, right? I said, damn right. We go out, we do it again. Exactly the same interaction. It's uncanny. Right through those same 7 dogs. You know, puppy, 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 then the 4 adults. It was really amazing. So I says, okay, better be early tomorrow. And they're smart kids. Mrs. Berkeley, for God's sake. And one of the guy undergraduates says, yep, we're testing every puppy with every adult. What we found was no female would take a bone away from a 2-month-old puppy. None of them. Only about 40% of the times male dogs would do it. 60% of the times, male dog would let a puppy enjoy the bone. We now test this. As they get older, it changes. By about 6 months of age, every male dog takes the bone away from puppies. Okay? As they get older still, now some male dogs won't take the bone away from females. So now the female puppies have grown up to be 8 and 10 months old. They can actually keep the bone from some adult males. But none of the male puppies can compete. They're just totally there. And this is how rank is pre-decided. Age at which you enter into the hierarchy. You are bottom. You are 0. You are nada. You are an ant. Do you understand that, puppy? And the only way you will advance in this firm is as we die off at the top. And in a free pack, a pack that lives together without human intervention, that's the way it is. Okay? That the rank is pre-decided for the males. With the females, so now male puppies with adult females. As the male puppies start to get older, now the females will start taking the bone away. About half of them do. At, say, about 5 or 6 months. But as the male puppies are 8 months old, now they say, wait a minute. They now take the bone away from adult females. So you're going to get reversals with male puppies growing up. They're going to start to climb a few rungs over adult females. Adult females, puppy females, as they get older, develop the possession thing. They may not